I was doing logistics, which basically is a glorified term for driving a U-Haul. 5 or 6 years ago, my parents first bought me a camera for Christmas, which was like the big thing. They bought me some, like a Canon T3 or a T6 or whatever in the base model, and it was like the greatest thing ever for me. Kit lenses, all that stuff. It was a very basic package, but for probably about 2 years now, or after that, I've been going to, cars and coffees on and off. And it was kind of like this thing that I did. And we'd wake up early and we'd go over and you'd run around, you'd take the photos and do some weird, poor editing on it and throw it on Instagram and Facebook. And there was a million kids doing that. I'd start following them, and it was like this great community of people taking really lame photos and being really proud of it. So I did that for a while, and then I started talking more with the owners as opposed to just kind of hanging around them. And as I started talking to them, it became apparent that they were all very, very different. They were different ages, different lifestyles, different personalities, different industries, streams of income. But it all seemed like this car was only a part of what they were doing. And so I kind of realized that this wasn't as fun as I thought it was, because there was obviously a lot more to it. So it wasn't just this car piece to it, and there was something I could do. And so I was constantly wrestling with this and understanding that there's something more to this than just taking these photos, which weren't even that good. I was never gonna be some like industry photographer who does like layers and all this Photoshop and all that and gets printed for Top Gear. It was never gonna be that case. At one point or another, I crossed Facebook paths with David Eisen. And for whatever reason, I guess I figured out that he was somewhat important in cars, and he was running Corsa Rally at that point and starting to transition to Lux Rally. I think I had met him once or twice at an event, and he's a very interesting personality in that he doesn't really show any emotion at any given time. So I was just kind of like, oh, this guy doesn't care about me, but at least I was in the room with him kind of deal. And being like, oh, it's an honor to meet you, not really knowing anything about any of this. I'd also met Jovian at one point. And the story with Jovian is pretty funny, because when I was younger, I really loved the attention on Instagram and being kind of like a troll on Instagram. So I would troll Jovian a lot because he had one point reached out to me about stuff for Cannonball. So I thought I was like with the in crowd. I thought I was like, ooh, I'm on the Cannonball team. Like I'm doing media, which I really wasn't. I was shooting on my mom's Nikon Coolpix. So it wasn't really like I had any big part. So I thought I was in, and so I was trolling everybody. Jovian positively hated me for 2 years. And because I would just mess around. And this was all in the beginning stages of where I was still doing photographs, but I was trying to also put my foot in the door on the other side. And it's very hard when you're known as someone who's just running around taking bad photos and being annoying to really be like, hey, I want to be of value and kind of be on the other side, be on the business side, be on the lifestyle side, whatever it is. It's very, very hard because you have a reputation that kind of precedes you. My reformation and revelation became when I went down to DC and lived in DC where David Eisen was living. I came down to DC and started hanging out with that crowd a bit more. There's a very strong DMV Auto Club crowd. A lot of different pockets of different car owners, different car types, different personalities. So I started hanging out with them a little bit more. And the funny thing is, as I hung out with them more and more, it became less and less about cars. It became more and more about our lives, our lifestyles, business, food. Food is a big thing that brings these people together. Like on Lux Rally, we really focus on the food. You have like 6,000 calories a day. And sure, the cars are cool, but there's people with $40 million in Ferraris. They'll just rent the Corvette just to have fun and instead be like, hey, we're getting an awesome food experience. So food is another thing that brings people together. So as I went through all of this, I kind of realized that the cars were only a small part of it. And I was understanding that if I really want to own one of these, which is like the dream, I have to transcend just taking the photos and leaving. The first time I was approached by David to actually work on Lux Rally, I think I was at his house just hanging out. And I had known about Lux Rally for a while. I had visited them when they stopped at a Stru in South Jersey, and I had seen them around DC, and I'd seen them all over social media. So I was very aware of Lux Rally, and I kind of had realized that they were creating something special. As opposed to the other rallies that aren't necessarily focused on value, but a lot more focused on presence or celebrities or things like that. Lux Rally was really focused on creating something really valuable, getting your money's worth, and having a great community. So I think David first approached me in the months leading up to last year's Miami Mardi Gras. And he said, I want you to do logistics on the rally. And I said, okay. I was like, I want to actually get into this. And that's when I first dipped my toes in and started working for Lux Rally. The first one I worked on was Miami to Mardi Gras in last year. And that was a really fun experience. I was doing logistics, which basically is a glorified term for driving a U-Haul at 78 miles an hour down Florida state roads. Had a lot of cool experiences. Taught me integrity and the school of hard knocks, which is a hard thing to learn, but something like a rally will teach you if you're on the logistics side. And after that, I kind of took on more and more responsibility. And at this point, I was completely out of photography. I just ditched it. I hadn't picked up my camera at this point in probably a year. It just sat there. The batteries are dead. And I don't care. I'm in this other world now where that is so irrelevant. I'll show up to the car events. It's so much more about like the people that you're with as opposed to just kind of like getting the likes. Once I understood that there was a big difference between getting those likes and actually being liked, it made a big transition in my life. My lifestyle overall changed. A lot of things that mattered didn't matter, and a lot of things that didn't matter now. So it kind of shifted my focus away from kind of caring about a lot of superfluous things and really focusing on creating value, which is what everyone should be focusing on, is creating value, because that's how you make money and that's how you gain connections and make friends. And sometimes you have to do the hard work. And as my dad says, you have to cut your teeth. And it's like every business, every industry, you have to cut your teeth. Your job is going to suck at some point. And so for me, it sucked then because, I had to wake up early. After spending until 2 a.m. in Miami, you have to wake up at 9 to do the truck, which wasn't very fun, and then drive it up. And it really taught me integrity. It taught me, just kind of suck it up. And when you make the client happy, that's the best moment in my life, is that I have this own smile on my face that people point out. And it's like, you have that smile where you make a client happy. And they noticed that. And then it evolved from there. And this year, we were sitting at some Mexican tapas place. And he said, I really need someone to transition to full time for Lux Rally and also as his personal assistant. And he was like, this is going to be hard. This is going to be a lot of time. You're going to make a lot of enemies. You're not going to have enough time to do what you want in your free time or whatever. But you're going to make a lot of money. You're going to have great experiences. And you're going to 10x your life. And I took that gamble. I rolled with that. And now I work full time. And it's probably one of the most rewarding experiences ever. It's very hard. It's pretty frustrating at some times. But at the end result, when I make David happy or I work with a hotel when we figure something out or whatever it is one of the greatest satisfactions I can have, is to really be able to deliver and create value. Again, it goes back to creating value. For someone who wants to move out of just looking at cars and taking photos of them and chasing them around, find some way to create value outside of that. I created value through hospitality. And it took me a while to get there. And it took a lot of coaching. It took a lot of hard lessons, hard knocks, falls, and trials. But I understood that I could deliver for clients at a hotel or a rally and provide them a really memorable experience. And that was the value that I understood I could provide outside of just taking these photos. So for anyone in that situation, there is hope for you. You can get out of this and understand that your values are not your importance is not just limited to taking photos. There's a lot more out there. I know kids that have gone from just shooting cars to doing detailing. Some of them have actually made a decent living off of that, moving from just taking photos and hanging around to really being like, hey, let's get the cars ready, and really becoming part of that lifestyle and making a decent amount of money off of it. And also really getting to know those owners because they're at their houses, they're hanging out with them, they're cleaning the cars. And that's a lot more than you could ever do, just doing photography around the city or around, wherever you are. That's the biggest piece of advice I would say, is really try to find value. Find someone who's willing to give you a shot. Find someone who's going to say, okay, you want to play at this level? All right, well, here's a chance. If you want to play at this level, come play. If you over deliver on an underwhelming job, people will notice that. So if you're driving that U-Haul truck, but you're at the hotel early, in my case, if you're at the hotel early, you get the bags delivered, get the bags to the right room, which is sometimes hard to do, and you provide an experience where the client doesn't have to worry about anything, that's when they're going to notice you. When you're completely out of sight, out of mind. They're still going to remember you. Even though you're not there, they're going to know. Sometimes, it's going to be an unglamorous job. It's going to suck. But if you start at the bottom, your only way is up. So you might as well start with what you've got, work with it, and then you add value, add roles. You might learn something. So whatever it is, it's never really beneath you. I mean, that's how everybody starts. Wharton graduates who go to Penn, their first job isn't going to be the most glamorous. No one's first job is glamorous. No one out of med school is the star doctor of their regional hospital. It's the case across every single industry and everything, small businesses, whatever it is. You're never going to be at your dream job right out of the gate. So you have to accept that you're going to start with something hard, like cleaning the cars, filling up the gas, walking the dogs, whatever it is, and you're just going to move upward from there.
Shrewd negotiation starts with finding the right car, and the best way to do that is with Autotempest.com. Autotempest allows you to search nationally through all the major listing sites with one search. Autotempest, all the cars, one search.